Okay, my next video here in my series of videos about how to go about selecting your first CCW or even purchasing your first gun in this case is dealing with the different ways you can go about buying your gun. Now the three most common ways most people go about buying their gun are either through a private sale from another individual gun owner, from a retail gun shop, or from the internet. Now I want to go over these three different ways that people can go about buying their guns and the pros and cons to each of them. Okay, the first method of purchasing a gun is one that I've used quite a bit, and that's buying it through a private sale. I like to buy guns through private sales because you usually save quite a bit of money. That's about the only really good thing about buying a gun through a private sale is you do get to save some cash. And then you also have the added benefit of sometimes you get to help out a guy who needs a little help, because people usually only sell guns because A, like they're like me and they want to buy another gun, or B, they need the money for one thing or another. So you might get to be helping someone out in their hour of need. But those are the only really two positives to buying a private sale. Less cash and maybe get to help somebody out. Because there's negatives to buying a gun through a private sale. And both of them come through lack of knowledge. One, you don't know that person you're buying it from. You don't know, are they an honest person? Are they a criminal? Are they someone trying to pass off a faulty gun? You can't count how many posts I've seen on the internet of, I sent the gun back to get it repaired twice, still doesn't work well, so I sold it. Well, that means you sold a gun you know doesn't work to somebody. But you see that all the time. So you got to take that into account when you're buying a gun from a private person. If you don't know that person, they just might be passing on their problems to you. So that's one bad thing about buying a gun. You don't know that person. You don't know what kind of deal they're trying to make for you. And another thing is you don't know the gun. You don't know the history of the gun. Just like I said, you don't know, has this been a gun that's been back for repair several times? Is this a gun that has an issue that they can't get resolved? Is this a gun that just has a small issue that may prop up when you're trying to shoot it? You just don't know the history. How often has it been shot? You know, does this gun have 10,000 rounds through it, or does it have 150 rounds through it? So you really don't know anything about the gun. And another thing is you do not know the criminal history of that gun. Has that gun been involved in a crime? Now I have actually had people that I was buying a gun from when I said, okay, I'll buy it, but can I? And the guy kind of gave me bad vibes, and I said, well, I'll buy it from you. I've got the cash right on me. Let me just call the sheriff's office, run the serial number. It's free and it only takes a couple of minutes. And the guy literally took off on me. So, you know, you got to be careful. Now, I bought a lot of guns though, and I've only had, out of all the guns I've bought a lot, like I said, I bought a lot of them. And I've only had probably 3 or 4 cases where things didn't seem right, and when I said I either wanted a bill of sale or I wanted to see ID, you know, wanted to take a picture of their ID, then they said no, I just walk away. If a person doesn't let me know who they are, take a copy of who they are, I'm not buying from them and I'm not selling to them on a private sale. So those are the things you got to watch out for in a private sale. You might save a little money, but you have no history of the person or the gun unless you know them very well. So that's really the things you need to think about when you're thinking about buying your guns from a private sale. Okay, the next way to buy your gun would just be to go to a gun shop and buy your gun. Now, gun shops are going to have pros and cons too. Now, the pros to a gun shop is you're going to have a bigger selection than you would through private sale, because with private sale, you're just buying whatever someone's selling. It's not like you walk in and go through a display case. So you got a bigger selection. You have people there on staff that should be able to answer questions for you. You should have a knowledgeable sales staff there that can actually help you out. You often get a lot of support after the sale. If you have an issue with your gun, a lot of gun shops will help you get the gun back to the manufacturer, help you get it repaired. I've even known some gun shops that'll give you, I've had a gun shop here locally give me a refund on a lemon gun, let me choose another gun. They dealt with the manufacturer. So if you build a good relationship with a gun shop, it really can be beneficial to you in the long run. And the other pro is you get to support a local small business. And I'm all about supporting local small businesses. So that's a very big positive for buying from a gun shop. Now there are some cons to buying from a gun shop too. The one con that you can think of is price. You will be paying a little more than if you buy from a private sale usually. Although nowadays I don't know if that's too true, because I've known a lot of people selling used guns who for some reason think in today's climate that their used gun is suddenly worth as much as it is new just because they're selling it to you. And they always use these false things like, well, you'll get it with no registry. Well, there's not a registry in most states anyway, so that really doesn't matter. So prices, but price is a little bit of a difference in gun shops, so you will be paying a price and you'll be paying sales tax if you have sales tax in your state. You won't pay sales tax on private sale. The other bad thing about gun shops, and this has happened to all of us, is it seems like no matter who you are, occasionally you'll run into that, you know, that gun counter Rambo who thinks they know everything about guns. They're more interested in what they want to sell you than they are in what you want to buy. And we just all know what that kind of person is like to deal with, and it's not a positive thing. So those are the bad things about buying at a gun shop. Sometimes you pay a little more, and sometimes you run into the occasional bad salesperson. But otherwise, you're supporting a local business. You have a good selection of gun, and you know the history of that gun because you know it's new. So that's another a pro right there. You know, if you're usually buying at a gun shop, you're usually buying new. So you know the history of the gun, and if it's not new, if it's used, usually the gun shops will stand behind a used gun. Most gun shops I know, if you buy a used gun for them, you take it home and it has an immediate problem, they will buy it back from you. Most of the ones I deal with. That doesn't mean all gun shops will do that. But like I say, that's part of having that good relationship with a gun shop. So there's the pros and cons of buying from a gun shop. That is my actual preferred method of buying a gun, simply because I like to support small business and I like to know that my dealings are on the up and up and I don't have to worry about doing any of that stuff myself. Now to talk about the third most common way of buying a gun, which is something that's gotten more and more popular in recent years, is buying a gun off the internet, either through a private auction or through an online retailer. Now this is my least favorite way to buy a gun for the one main reason. Now there are some pros to buying guns online. One is you can sometimes get a good price on them, and two, they have great selection. When you're looking online, you can usually find anything you want because you get to scour the whole country, find what you want, buy it, have it shipped to you. So that's the only time I really break down and I will buy something online. It's if I can't find it locally, I don't know anyone else that has it that I can buy it from, no gun shops in my area carry it, they can't get one, it's discontinued for whatever reason, but I can usually find it online. That's like if I wanted a Colt Magnum carry or something, I'll find it online, I'll take my chances and I'll buy it. But that's really the big pros to buying online, is being able to find what you want. Because price doesn't really end up being a big pro to usually online. I've known so many people talk about, oh, I saved this much by buying it online. Well, I'm like, well, once we sat down, figure out shipping, figure out FFL fees, and figure out, if you have to pay sales tax on getting it into state, you usually end up saving a couple of bucks. And is it really worth a couple of bucks to buy a gun that has been shipped to you that you didn't get to look at before you bought it? It isn't to me. Because that's the number one negative to buying online, in my opinion, is you do not get to look at the gun first. You don't get to have it in your hands. You don't get to do the barrel is straight, or the mag seat properly, the slide rack's well, everything looks like it's in good shape, nothing's broken, it's not scratched, there's not dings in it. You don't get to do any of that. You just have to take someone else's word. And I've seen so many people say, this gun's 99% and I get it and it's like 70% at best. Everyone's idea of what's perfect is different. What a lot of people would call a perfect gun, I'll call like an 80% gun. And if you sit down and really grade it, it probably is closer to an 80% gun. Because, buyer beware on the internet. That's the worst thing about it. You don't get to see it. I also don't like the fact that I have to give them my money before I get the gun. I want to hand my money over when I get my product. I don't want to hand you my money and then wait a week or so to get my product, or even longer. So I don't like that part of it either. And also another negative about buying online, you don't really get a lot of support. Once you've bought it, it's yours. They're not going to help you much if something goes wrong. It's just not a very friendly one-on-one interaction. It's a very cold process. So there you have the three different ways that most people buy a gun: the private sale, the gun shop, or the internet. And I will say by far my favorite is to buy through a gun shop, support a local business, have a good selection, and they offer good prices nowadays, especially if you're in an area where there's good competition. There's private sales, which is great sometimes to get a good deal, but it's sometimes not worth it to go through that hassle of wondering who the person is you're buying from or selling to, making sure the gun's legitimate, making sure the gun's clean. It's just a big hassle, and I would rather not have to deal with that. And then there's the internet, which is my least favorite, because I want to be able to see a product before I buy it. I don't want to hope that it's good. I don't want to take someone else's word on what condition it's on. And so when you're buying your gun, take those things into account and make the best decision that's right for you and what way you feel the most comfortable buying. And in the end, all three of them are good ways to buy a gun, but just know there's pros and cons to each of them.